Hey guys, it's Jessica. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going through a list of the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror books that I am most excited to read in September 2025. After a middling August, I would say, for new releases, it looks like September is going to be absolutely fantastic. I have a long list to get through today, so we're not going to waste a lot of time here at the beginning, but I have grouped these books by genre. And I will tell you all the details of each one, who's publishing them, how many pages they are, and what date they're coming out on, so that you can have some time to plan your holds at the library and your pre-orders if you're doing that. And we are just gonna jump right into things with fantasy. And the first book I'm going to highlight here in fantasy is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This book is coming out on September 2nd, so almost here, and it is being published by Saturday Books, and it is 384 pages. This book is set in the same universe as Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, if you have read that duology, but it has one big difference, which is that it's actually a adult fantasy and not a young adult as those two books were. I also believe that it is a standalone in the sense that it's not following any of the characters from the other duology. So I would imagine that you would be okay to read it if you haven't read those books, but I would always recommend reading those books because at least Divine Rivals is just one of my top romantasy books. Rebecca Ross has beautiful and amazing prose always, and I am always so excited to see a new release from her, and I'm definitely going to be picking this one up. The next book I'm going to feature here is The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. This is being published by Orbit. It is 480 pages, and it's coming out on September the 23rd. This is the first of what I am calling the Lady Night books that are coming out this fall. There are actually, I think, at least 4. So there's this book. Alex E. Harrow has the new book. There is a Tasha Suri book, and then there's another one that I can't remember the name of right now, but I believe there are 4 books about female knights coming out this fall, and I'm very excited. In this book, we follow a knight named Gray, and she is bonded to her mage. And I do know that this is a romantasy, but that it also has some really interesting world building. And I have to tell you all that the cover is just top tier. I am obsessed with this cover. I do have an advanced copy of this book, so I am definitely going to be reading this book in September, so I will let you all know what I think about it, but so far early reviews look really positive. This is not an author I've read anything from before. I don't know, it might actually be a debut novel. I am not certain, but I am so excited to read it. It's one of my most anticipated reads of the month. The next book I have is a prequel to a long-running series, and that is Crossroads of Ravens, and it is the prequel to the Witcher series. It's 400 pages, and it's being published by Orbit, and it's coming out on September 30th. This is being pitched as a standalone in the world, meaning that you should be able to read it without having read the other books, but I have seen some early reviewers saying that you would be better served to have read the first book of short stories, which is called The Last Wish. I'm actually reading The Last Wish right now this month because I am excited to try this one. So I am hoping that it's going to be a good introduction to The Witcher Geralt. I have played the Witcher video games. I'm actually replaying one of them right now. I'm having a little bit of a Witcher moment, I guess. And I am excited for this one. Reviews, it's already out in other countries, but this is the English translation that is being released this month. And early reviews, I would say, look pretty positive. And I'm excited to give it a try. And I hope that those of you who are big fans of The Witcher, I know there are many, are going to be picking this one up. Next, we have Fate's Bane by C.L. Clarke. This is coming out on September 30th. It's 176 pages, and it's being published by Tor.com. C.L. Clarke is the author of the Unbroken trilogy. I don't know if that's the name of the trilogy or just the first book. I still need to read that one, but I have heard really amazing things about it, and I love a Tor.com novella. So I'm quite excited about this one, and I'm likely to read it at some point this year. This, I understand, has a bit of a sapphic love story in it. We are following a character who is a ward and a hostage of a tribe. She falls in love with the chieftain's daughter, and I think things kind of escalate from there. I don't know that much about it, but I have heard that the writing is very, very beautiful and lyrical, which is a thing that I always really enjoy. This is another one that has just a super amazing cover. And people who have read this author's works really love them. And so I think this may be the one that I actually get to before I get to her trilogy, but it looks amazing. And I am so excited to read it. And then coming out on September 9th, we have The Hexologists, A Tangle in Time by Josiah Bancroft. It's 352 pages, being published by Orbit. This is the second book in the Hexologist series. I have read the first book and I absolutely loved it. If you were looking for a kind of I would say it's a mystery, fantasy, genre blend kind of story that features a married couple who are absolutely just like couple goals for me. They are so sweet together, but at the same time, the world that they are exhibiting is not always so sweet. I just really, really enjoyed the first one. I would recommend this series for people who enjoyed Robert Jackson Bennett's Shadow of the Leviathan series that starts with the Tainted Cup, because it has a similar feeling kind of blend of fantasy and mystery, although the world that this is set in is very, very different from that one. But I do think that people who enjoyed that would also enjoy this series. I do have an arc of this book, so I am going to be reading it this month, and I am very excited to see what time-traveling adventures our couple get up to this time. I just absolutely love this series, and I am so excited to get the second book. Next, I have a book I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, and that is Audition for the Fox by Martin Cahill. It's 192 pages, coming out on September 16th, being published by Tachyon. And this one says it is about a trickster fox god who challenges an underachieving acolyte to save herself by saving her own ancestors. But are Nessie and her new friends from the past prepared to defeat the ferocious wolfhounds of Zemen? First of all, this is another one. I was attracted to this because I think that the cover is gorgeous and kind of unusual looking, but I do love stories about trickster gods playing tricks on people, and a fox god. Yes, I love books like that. I think I've never heard of this author, but I think that this is an intriguing story and one that I'm going to be definitely watching the early reviews of to see if it looks like something that I might enjoy. But again, I just wanted to put this on everyone's radar because it's one I haven't seen before. And the last book I have in the fantasy section is Making History by KJ. This is only 128 pages, so it is a novella. It's being published by Tor.com, and it comes out on September 2nd. And I really liked the kind of tagline that this book gives you. It says, "History isn't truth, it's propaganda." And it says it's about a group of scholars who are asked to do the impossible by a ruthless king. And it's about these scholars having to basically change history to please a king. And I think that sounds really interesting. I love stories that challenge our view on history and the history that we remember, the history that we have. I think it sounds like it could be really interesting. It's only 128 pages, so a really small commitment. I've actually never read anything by this author. I do have several books in my kind of list to read. I have a couple of their novellas over here that I've read, and I am just interested in checking something out. So maybe this would be the one. Although if you have read any of their other books and you have one to recommend to me, I would love to hear that. Okay, we are moving on to science fiction. And I'm going to start with the book that I am the most excited about in science fiction this month, and that is Saltcrop by Yume Kitasei. This is coming out on September 30th. It's being published by Harper Voyager, and it is 387 pages long. This is the story of Nora and her sister. They live in a climate change ravaged world. And one day they set out on a journey to try and find a cure for all of the crop failures that the world is experiencing. And they meet lots of people along the way, and they discover some of the causes of this. And I do believe it also has a theme of corporate greed, which is very common in these stories, and a theme that generally I am always interested in reading about. I have read one book, The Stardust Grail, by this author before, and I really enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to this. This is a big change from the kind of space opera stories that I feel like her first two books took place in, but I think this is going to be really intriguing, and I like the author, and this is definitely my most anticipated sci-fi book this month. And then kind of in a similar vein, we have What We Can Know by Ian McEwan. This is coming out on September 23rd, published by Vintage, and it is 323 pages long. Ian McEwan is an author who I feel has written in a lot of different genres, and I'm not exactly sure if he would categorize this book as science fiction, but I'm putting it here because it is one that I am excited to read, and it does deal with the after effects of climate change. It sounds very literary in a way that I personally feel like I'm going to really enjoy. And the hook of this book is just amazing. It says 2014, a great poem is read aloud and never heard again. For generations, people speculate about its message, but no copy has yet been found. 2119, the lowlands of the UK have been submerged by rising seas. Those who survive are haunted by the richness of the world that has been lost. And then it's about an academic who is searching for this lost poem. And to me, that sounds very literary, but it also feels very much like Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, which is one of my favorite literary science fiction books. So that's why when I saw that description, this really caught my interest and I'm very intrigued. So it's definitely one that I am planning on reading at some point. And I think it sounds really interesting. And I've never actually read a book by this author, although I do have Atonement by Ian McEwan on my shelves, but I have not gotten around to it yet. So this might be a good one for me to start with. Next, we have Sunward by William Alexander. This is 200 pages being published by Saga Press, and it comes out on September 16th. This looks to be a more literary book again, and it is described as a more cozy science fiction story in the copy from the publisher. And it is about a captain who mentors baby bots, juvenile AIs who are developmentally in their teens, training them interact within society, becoming their foster mom. And then it's about her latest charge, and it sounds like it's going to be a little bit of a found family with AI. And I am intrigued with that. I think that sounds really interesting. And again, it's a short book. I think I said 200 pages, but it actually says 187 pages here. And I like the cover, and I'm always interested in trying something a little bit different in science fiction. And I have really been enjoying reading about artificial intelligence lately. So this is one I'm going to have my eye on. And then the last book I have in science fiction is The Heist of Hollow London by Eddie Robson. This is coming out September 30th. It is 288 pages. So the description of this is really interesting. It is about clones. It says, Arlo and Drienne are maids, clones of company executives deemed important enough to be saved should their health fail. They work around the clock to pay off the debt incurred by their creation, though most are reaped, killed, and harvested for organs when the corporate counterparts are in medical need. But when the too big to fail company that owns them collapses, they find themselves purchased by a scientist who has a job for them. And thus we get to The Heist of Hollow London. I think that sounds really interesting. I love a story that blends a heist story into sci-fi or fantasy. And I love clone stories. And this just generally sounds like it's going to really work for me. Fast-paced, hopefully. And I'm really intrigued by it. And that's an intriguing setup. So that one is definitely on my radar. So we're going to move on to the final category I have here, which is horror. Not all these books are going to be super, super aggressive, terrify you horror, but some of them are more on kind of the folk horror spectrum, and some of them are more just kind of creepy haunted house tales. But as we move into September, and hopefully we get some cooler temperatures, and I'm ready to read some spooky books, I am excited for these. And the first one that I have for you is The Haunting of William Thorn by Ben Alderson, coming out on September 9th. It is 400 pages long, and it is published by Angry Robot. I generally find that Angry Robot publishes really interesting books, and the description of this one really got me. First of all, it is described here. The comp titles are The Notebook meets The Haunting of Hill House. Two books that were more different from each other have never existed. So that's interesting, but I will just read you this first paragraph. It says, William Thorn has had his life all planned out until he discovered his long-term boyfriend, Archie, in bed with another man. Distraught, William kicks him out of their home, where tragedy strikes when Archie is killed instantly in a car accident. Riddled with guilt, he is shocked to learn that he has inherited a manor house left to him in Archie's will. So he arrives at this manor house, and he finds that the villagers are not happy he is there. He finds that there might be something strange going on in the house, and I think there's a romance element in this as well, but it sounds really good and charming, and maybe cozy, question mark, I'm not sure, but it sounds really good and I am very much looking forward to reading this one. I already have my library hold set, so I am planning to read it this fall. Next we have The Witch of Willow Sound by Vanessa Penney. This is coming out on September 30th and is being published by ECW Books. It is 288 pages long. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is one that I put in here because I think the cover is beautiful or creepy beautiful, or both. I don't know. I think it is just a very intriguing looking cover, and I do love folk horror. And this is the story of a young woman who goes to a small island village to find her missing aunt. When she arrives there, she finds that the villagers are strange. The animals are strange. The house is strange. Everything is strange. It's a very classic setup, I feel like, for one of these stories. But I do know that it is based on real witch lore or traditions from the East Coast of the United States. And I'm intrigued by that. So I love a witchy story. And this is one I'm going to be keeping my eye on to see how it looks. Next, we have my most anticipated horror book of the month, and that is What Stalks the Deep by T. Kingfisher. It is 288 pages, and it is being published by Tor Nightfire, and it comes out on September 30th. This is the third book in the Sworn Soldier series. The first book of that is What Feasts at Night. And this is, to me, just a top horror fantasy kind of series. The original book, the first one, is actually based on the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Fall of the House of Usher. But I think that after that, the series kind of took on a little bit of a life of its own, and she has continued putting out stories that I just find very intriguing. And in this one, our main character, Alex, visits the United States. I believe specifically Appalachia, which is very near where I live. So I'm very intrigued by what kind of horror they are going to meet. I am very excited about it. And I did not look at the description of the story within because I already know I'm going to love it. So if you like a scary story, not too long, that has a good amount of humor and heart and found family within it, this is a series that I would certainly recommend. I have greatly enjoyed every single volume that I have read, and I think that they are good spooky books that aren't going to just terrify you, and they're very atmospheric. So it's definitely a recommendation for me, and I'm so excited to read this third book. And then my last horror book is going to be The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi. Yes, I said what I said. This is 400 pages, coming out September 30th, published by Tor Nightfire, and yeah, I kind of feel like the title says it all on this one, but I will let you know a little bit more. So I am going to read a little bit of this because I don't think I can describe it as well as this does. And it says, Rose Dubois is not your average final girl. Rose is in her late 70s, living out her golden years at the Autumn Springs retirement home. When one of her friends dies alone in her apartment, Rose isn't too concerned. Accidents happen, especially at this age. Then another resident drops dead, and another. With bodies stacking up, Rose can't help but wonder, are these accidents, old age, or something far more sinister? Together with her best friend, she begins to investigate. The further she digs, the more convinced she becomes. There's a killer on the loose at Autumn Springs, and if she isn't careful, Rose may be its next victim. So I believe that this is a slasher book. I don't know, like, it sounds a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I don't know how much it's going to be. I've actually never read a book by this author, although I have meant to, and I'm just super intrigued by it. And I just read one of the Thursday Murder Club books, so I'm interested in reading another book set in a retirement home. I don't know. I'm just really intrigued by it, and I'm probably going to be reading it. I don't read a lot of things that I would consider to be like super duper scary, but this time of year is when I'm going to do it. So I don't know how scary this is. It sounds like it might be kind of scary though. So there you have it. My list of September books that I am excited for. I hope that you found something that you can add to your hold list at the library and come back and let me know what you thought. I would love if you would let me know if there are any of these books that you are excited for, or if there's anything that I've missed. Please leave that down in the comments. And if you're feeling quiet, go ahead and leave me the knife emoji in honor of what's hopefully going to be the beginning of cooler weather and spooky season. I hope that you all have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.